Yes, it's Happy International Women's Day, and today we're going to be doing a different. The panel of the day is purely women, as we get to discuss what is happening in the country and definitely the female agenda. It's good to have you. Thank you so much for always keeping it TV47 and Morning Cafe, to be precise. My name is Linda Alela. The hashtag as always is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47 KA. Just what are the women doing as they continue to break the glass ceiling? Because we can't say it's now that they're doing it. Someone says that it's actually getting to a level where it's even tougher than a glass, but the ladies are managing to do it. Just how different, even as they penetrate the spaces of leadership, even as they penetrate the spaces of entrepreneurship. It is important that we just get to know how these bold ladies are doing it different, and how do we nurture the young ones to match up, to get to those levels where they understand they have to be on the table making decisions, as opposed to always waiting for the male gender to focus on turning the tables for us. So it's good to have you. Let's talk about the women, as we also remember to wish those ones that are close to us the International Women's Day, all the best of it and what it is that it can bring along with the same. There's still so much also that is happening in the country and beyond. As we talk of the female agenda, we do not fail to speak about what is happening in the world of news. And we have the Standard newspaper, the People Daily, as well as the Daily Nation, as we decipher on the key stories that have been captured. The Standard newspaper this morning speaks of the biggest story being budget boss Yatani at heart of about 15 billion riddle, and this is what was said by the budget controller, that is Margaret Nyakango. As she said, it wasn't me. She goes ahead to say that she was hard pressed by members of parliament to reveal why she was hard pressed, that is during the exits or the exit moments of the previous government, hard pressed by the likes of Ukuru Yatani, the CS then, on matters treasury to release some funds. And of course, this upon another hard press by the members of parliament to reveal why she okayed these payments that were not backed in law. And she pointed fingers at, the former Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is Ukuru Yatani, saying she did it under duress. A story captured on page 6. And from where I sit, I have to use a lot of discretion, and I'm also a human being. When I'm under threat, I also have to preserve. That is according to Dr. Margaret Nyakango, and questions linger as to whether then we can trust her with the kind of office that she holds, the very same office, if at all then she was able to be pushed to levels where she had to go against the law. What does it mean for this very point, and how different is it this time around? This even as then it opens a Pandora's box and a point of conversation for us to understand whether indeed the previous government did so much towards their last days as claimed by the current one, in terms of pinching the taxpayers' pockets, as well as just conducting illegal activities and getting monies contrary to what is enshrined in law. Remember, by the time the current government was coming on board, their argument was that they got the coffers empty. Could this be one of the reasons why this happened? Again, and a developing story, and we'll be getting to have details of the same as we continue. On the other side, our time to rise and shine. This is what the girl child, or the women, are being told on this International Women's Day. Women have been asked to claim their stake at the main table since their contribution is enshrined in law, but they need to assert themselves more to realize their potential. This is a story that has been captured on page 14 and page 15 on the front page as well. Right there highlighted. We'll be getting to delve deeper into that. Just how do the ladies get to set the agenda, as well as assert themselves, as of course the laws would dictate, is one of the key things that we'll be discussing this morning. Perhaps the main thing that we look at this morning. Fortunes stand for Uhuru's Super CS. That is the former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, And of course, this former CS not only endured traffic on his way to the DCI, but as well had to contend with being barred at the gates and facing panel that wanted to know why he cried wolf. A story captured on page 4 on these allegations that he made, or they made, that his house was raided and that Matiang'i, Matiang'i let go after grilling at DCI headquarters over a home raid, and now remained at the DCI interrogation room for about 8 hours in the company of his lawyers, and the lawyers who claim that detectives were on a fishing expedition and that they asked the former CS to stay silent. So Justina Wamae goes ahead to say it's like they were on a fishing mission, and at this point we advise the ex-CS to keep silent or to exercise his constitutional right of silence. And so we'll be following up on this, which is a developing story, and we give you updates on what then will be established by the officers and what needs to be done moving forward upon the counts that have been leveled against him. On the very same page, GP Gachagua seals Kenya and Japan business ties. That is also a conversation that is there. On the other side, Raila now asks Kingi to respect Azimio's changes in Senate. Coalition wants Narok Senator Ledama Olekina to replace Isiolo Senator Fatuma Dulu as the minority whip, but the political parties tribunal holds that Dulu should continue even as opposition senators want her out. These adjustments were done, but perhaps not to a point of implementation. And when the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, visited the presence of Parliament, these are some of the key things that were looked into. Away from it, Kupet argues that it is in order for us to disband junior secondary because it has failed, according to them. A story captured on page 8 on the front page and expounded on page 8 of the Standard newspaper. Just what are the possibilities that this will be the case, and what informs this kind of about turn, and whether then it will be a plus or a minus in terms of getting it right, as to the competency-based curriculum. We can only wait to see. As you can evidently see, Missouri said that the teachers posted by the TSC to schools are not adequate to handle all the 14 learning areas, while the union cites lack of teachers to manage grade 7, inadequate books, as well as additional levies. We'll be following up on that. We have our education reporters, and definitely they'll give us updates on how this will take place or whether their proposals would be, adopted. And attack on free media. That also is one story that has been captured on the front page and expounded on page 16 of the Standard newspaper. We condemn the outrageous attack on the media in the name of cracking down on cartels. The media are answerable to Kenyans and not to cartels. The recent attacks are a gross violation of the freedom of press and border on intimidation. Journalism is the pillar and voice of the downtrodden and watchdog for rights of everyone, and we will not abrogate this responsibility. Let the media be and seek to unite Kenyans after power transition. We can evidently see that. Of course, that story is an editorial piece that speaks to the utterances, or perhaps what it is that Aaron Cheriot wrote on his Twitter page, arguing that it will be very easy to deal with the cartels in the country, but then again, not the media cartels, as he would call it, as well as those ones in the bank sector. And as well in relation to what it is that the Deputy President has argued that, the media is out there to harass them, but they remain adamant that they will not fall prey to that. And questions linger as to whether then this is a direct attack to the media fraternity, or what this really would be about. Away from it, the Daily Nation. We have the Daily Nation with us. Embrace Equity, International Women's Day. The faces of women who have done it so well, as we continue to celebrate the strides and the gains they have made in different quarters, be it in the question of education, be it in the question of politics, that is leadership, governance, talk about the question of health, and not forgetting the entrepreneurship world. The ladies are saying that, you know, they will not be left out. And so it has a special voice and a special pull out as to what it is that the girl child is doing, as we congratulate the strides that they are making. Cash includes 6 billion paid to Helios or to Exit Telecom and 9 billion for road project. These are the investigations that are being carried out. Uhuru pushed me to sign off 15 billion. Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango yesterday told the members of parliament how former Treasury CS Ukur Yatani invoked former President Kenyatta's name numerous times to press her to approve a questionable payment just 5 days to the August 9th general election. A story captured on page 7. We'll be looking at the developments of the same to keep you posted. On the other side, Rally Ace magazine to face murder charge of a lover's death. A story captured on page 3. It's been a case that has been going, and it gets to this very level, equally developing, and we'll update you further on the same. Now, Matiang'i, 7 hours of drama at DCI offices. What went wrong? Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i is set to be charged with conspiracy to commit felony and uttering false information over the alleged police raid on his current home last month. This is a story that is on the front page, expounded on page 5 of the Daily Nation. We'll be looking to get updates on the same to keep you posted. And on the other side, 12 on KPA shortlist as agency hands for new boss. A story captured on the front page and expounded on page 10. The shortlist for the planned position of managing director includes senior managers and politicians allied to top honchos that is in the ruling Kenya Kwanza alliance. We'll be looking to see what plays out on that. And on the other side, yes, as you can evidently see, that is what it is that is on the screen. Developing story, whether then the adjustments will be made, you know, towards the right direction and getting the right faces is a question of wait and see. PSC rejects bid to drop non-practicing PACs for doctors and lawyers. The SRC had argued that there was no need to continue paying the allowance. This is a story that is on the front page and is expounded on the back page of the Daily Nation. Doctors and lawyers had protested plan to stop paying the PAC, and that PSC rejects proposal to cut out a non-practice allowance. A Public Service Commission says they still need to attract professionals into civil service. That also a developing story, and you'll get more updates as and when they get to hit our desk. Let's see what the People Daily has. We have the People Daily and a soft copy of the same. Let's see what that paper has in store this morning. Yes, here we are. Yatani forced me to pay out 15 billion. That as well is one of the key stories that finds itself on the other papers. Away from Eat Women's Day, the gains, the challenges, the opportunities as well is one of the stories that we have touched on. Matiang'i DCI for probe as well, a story that we have touched on. The only different one that is not captured on the front page of the others is on the Kidero as well as Gladys Wanga case, and Kidero suffers blow as Wanga election is upheld. Homa Bay governor race, how it was held, or maybe it was held according to law, court rules, as it says incumbent won despite the glitches. A story that is on the front page and expounded on page 2. And Kidero says that his supporters should remain calm as they think of the next course of action, and definitely will be getting updates to keep you posted. Rally driver magazine to be charged with a Sad Khan murder as well. That story we have picked on page 2 of the People Daily. JSC wants court to lift orders on judge probe. That is the Judicial Service Commission now wants the High Court to set aside orders that blocked it from commencing investigations. Court of Appeal Judge Sankale Ole Kantai on the question of alleged misconduct and also the murder of Tob Cohen conversation. As we shelve that, allow us to briefly look at some of the stories prepared by my team. The former Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, has been charged with 2 offences related to the alleged raid of his current home on February the 8th and the 9th. The charge sheet accuses Matiang'i of conspiring, that is to commit a felony and attempting to cause panic, chaos or violence among Kenyans by falsely claiming that his house was raided by a battalion of officers intending to arrest him. Moige William reports that the charges were filed just hours after Matiang'i presented himself at the DCI headquarters to honor a summons by the directorate.
Tuesday morning, about 20 minutes past 8, a convoy of vehicles sneaked through Kiambu Road, its destination, the Mazingira House, which hosts the country's investigative body, DCI. Among the occupants of the vehicles was former powerful Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, accompanied by a battery of lawyers led by Justina Wamae, Riviera Member of Parliament Otiende Omolo, Nyamira Senator Okongo Mungeni, among others. Momentarily, the group was denied access before being ushered in a few minutes later. The immediate former Interior Cabinet Secretary was honoring a summon by the DCI, inviting him to shed more light on an ongoing investigation into an alleged raid at his current home between the 8th and 9th of February. In a letter by the investigating officer, Senior Superintendent of Police Michael Sang, Matiang'i had been warned that failure to comply could lead to prosecution. For more than 7 hours, Matiang'i and the group accompanying him remained holed up within the precincts of Mazingira House. Not even Azimio leader Raila Odinga will be granted access into the place.
Now to see the
Minutes past 4, Akam Matiang'i walked out of the DCI gates, walking towards the cameras only for him to remain tight-lipped with leaders and lawyers, addressing the media on what transpired during the time spent at the DCI headquarters.
We took a record 15 minutes to respond to the issues that they wanted us to respond to. And from around 10 o'clock up to now, we have just been locked in the boardroom.
They were asking Dr. Matiang'i everything about his life, where he lives, what property he has, what farming he has, and other things. So when we realized that they were on a fishing expedition, our client invoked his right under Article 49 not to respond to those questions that were not relevant to the summons.
Consequently, the lawyers gave details of a brief but lengthy encounter at Mazingira House, revealing that Matiang'i was to be charged with 2 counts. It is expected that the former Cabinet Secretary will be charged with conspiracy to commit a felony by an intent to cause panic, chaos or violence among citizens by alleging his house had been raided by a battalion of police, and 2, publication of false information contrary to Section 23 of the Computer and Cybercrime Act No. 5 of 2018.
And they read a cautionary statement against Waziri on the 2 offenses, one under Section 317 of the Penal Code and another one under Section 23 of the Cybercrimes Act. And then they told us they have not made up their mind whether there is any offenses disclosed.
After a day full of back and forth between lawyers and detectives, leaders allied to the Azimio coalition said there was more to the events witnessed today, alleging that political forces were in play.
Not allow this country to recede back to the past days. It will be resisted. It will not be acceptable.
That this was not a criminal investigation. This was vendetta and witch hunt. It is also clear that the DCI were not acting of their own motion.
What we are talking about is vindictiveness. What we are talking about is vengeance by William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza team against Fred Matiang'i.
William Ruto, you are now running a country. Be very careful how you manage this country.
For more than 9 hours, Dr. Fred Matiang'i spent the better part of the day behind these gates of the DCI headquarters. Unknown to him is what and when the DCI will be knocking at his door. Moige William for TV 47.
All right, developing story as well. We keep you up to tabs on the same. Now, the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, has informed the members of Parliament that she was coerced by the former Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani to approve withdrawals amounting to about 15 6.5 billion shillings just days before the general elections. As our reporter Elizabeth Mutuku tells us, the father stated, or she father stated, that she had little choice but to approve the requested funds from the national government due to constant pressure from Yatani, who referenced former President Uhuru Kenyatta in his messages.
Money was stolen from COVID when people are dying. 2 days before the elections, they stole 6 billion and pretended to sell some shares from Telkom.
Shortly after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua revealed allegations of embezzlement of billions of taxpayers' funds during the election, the situation unfolded. Controller of Budget Dr. Margaret Nyakango told MPs that she approved 15 billion shillings from government under duress.
The CS Treasury went ahead to authorize expenditure from the annuity fund, bypassing the committee that is supposed to do that. But now, under the same circumstances as the telcos one, you found yourself approving it after the CS had approved. Under duress. Very unfortunate.
Nyakango revealed a conversation which took place on 4th of August 2022, just 4 days to the general election. In her confession, she said the name of former President Uhuru Kenyatta was invoked severally by former Treasury CS in a bid to approve the funds. And I quote some of the messages: "Please help us expedite this. He might call you if you don't deal with this by 4 p.m. One of the messages read, on approval, which Nyakango says had only 26 minutes to be approved.
4th August 2022, 3:39 p.m. Yakuro Yatan, you need to devise how to deal with it. I am sorry, but try.
Dr. Margaret Nyakango stated that Uhuru Yatani sought approval for 6 billion shillings to enable the government to purchase shares from Halo's investments, which would facilitate their exit from Telkom's Kenya. In addition, Yatani sought 9.2 billion shillings from the annuity fund to support the construction of 3 critical infrastructure projects, which were part of the former president's legacy.
The fund indeed was meant for infrastructure projects, but not random infrastructure projects. There is a committee under this law that was to sit and agree on priority roads. But somehow the CS National Treasury decided that this is where the funds were to come from. So this is another long story, just like the one for Telkom.
There were other approved payments, but she remained unconvinced of their necessity, including 27 billion shillings for fuel stabilization fund, 4 billion shillings meant for maize subsidy, and 2.1 billion shillings requested by the Ministry of Defense for construction of a hospital.
Specific transactions to tell us, did this money actually go towards the level 5 hospital or otherwise? But on the other hand, within 2 months of receiving this money, Parliament is also supposed to receive a report on what has happened with the money. When they come back to seek approval to regularize this spending in the supplementary budget, they should show exactly what the money was going to do.
The committee led by Nimrod Mbai is investigating a suspicious withdrawal of 50 billion shillings shortly before and after elections. Members in the committee have summoned Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u twice to appear before them regarding petition filed by Stephen Mutoro, the Secretary General of COFEC. However, Ndung'u has failed to appear before the committee on both occasions.
That's why we've decided to do a press conference and inform him on time, so that he will not say we never informed him. That if he fails to appear on the date on 16th of March this year, a warrant of arrest will be issued for him to be presented before this committee on the same date.
Ghosts of the former regime seem to be creeping out even as helpless controller of budgets decry to Parliament to legislate more to curb huge expenditure without its nod. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV 47 Palm Biddings, Nairobi.
Now, relentless opposition forecast to kick off a mass action countrywide, and a government keen to slow down the tempo are locked in a dead heat, with the government employing arm-twisting tactics on opposition's stalwarts to call off the demos. As Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga said he will blow the whistle on Thursday after the 14-day ultimatum ends. But as Apollo Kamau reports, the government is not resting easy.
Amid calls for dialogue that seem to have fallen on deaf ears, Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga and the Kenya Kwanza administration appear to be locked in dead heat. Odinga, who met Azimio senators in Parliament for a closed-door meeting and a joint lunch, maintained there is no about turn after Wednesday's lapse of the 14-day ultimatum, while lashing out at Senate Speaker Amason Kingi for frustrating Azimio leadership changes.
Wait for the time. The deadline is tomorrow, midnight. So you will hear from us on Thursday. Speaker Kaparo made a ruling very clearly that Parliament cannot be injuncted in performing its duties. So I want to urge the Speaker to allow Azimio to effect the changes in leadership in the House.
Signs that the government is keen to slow the opposition momentum in a case of arm-twisting tactics became evident over the weekend after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said he will name beneficiaries of the 24 billion shillings alleged loot that went to former President Uhuru Kenyatta's allies.
Pale katika police air wing, pale Wilson, ndio pesa ilikuwa inaletwa na magunia, inawekwa kwa ndege, inapelekwa kwa mtu nyumbani, inapelekwa kwa mwingine. In the next few days, nitatangazia wa Kenya, pesa ilienda kwa nani.
On a busy Tuesday, Fred Matiang'i's summons at the DCI headquarters signaled a government keen to slow down the opposition in its call for mass action in what observers see as a diversionary tactic that opposition leaders say they will not buy.
That is rubbish. Nothing to talk about.
President William Ruto's proposal now before Parliament, the creation of the office of the official opposition leader, was meant to keep Odinga in check, a proposal that has been endorsed by Kenya's allies, the United Kingdom and the US. Apul Kamau, TV 47.
Well, despite the deployment of heavy government machinery to the North Rift region, bandits are still launching attacks in some of the regions earmarked for the operation. And as Gilbert Nalo reports, 2 health officers in the county were shot dead in a fresh banditry attack.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has today made changes among the county commissioners to enhance service delivery within the national administration and effectively coordinate national government functions in all the 47 counties. This comes at a time when the North Rift region is being faced with banditry attacks and cattle rustling challenges. 2 people were shot dead on Tuesday in Elgeyo Marakwet in a fresh banditry attack. A medical practitioner was shot dead in Aror area of Marakwet West, and an unknown number of livestock stolen in the area. The attack taking place despite a police and KDF operation in the area as directed by President William Ruto.
Tumesikia uchungu kweli kweli. Sababu ni kijana amejitafutia, ni kijana amekuwa kasi yake. Kwanza amekuwa kasi hapo Kapjamuta dispensary, sio mtu mwenye amekuwa ati akichunga mbuzi ama akifanya nini. So hii mambo ya bandits along Keriefale kulingana na yale yametendeka sio mambo ya kawaida tena.
The health practitioners from the county have condemned the attacks on the health officers, suggesting that bandits have a motive to instill fear to the officers, to fly away from the region and deny citizens an opportunity to get health services.
As health fraternity, we are saddened this afternoon that we have lost 2 of our health workers who work in the Kerio Valley. Lab tech who works in Kapchemuta, and another nurse aide or assistant nurse who works at Endo Mission Hospital in Kerio Valley. We
feel that probably the motive is to scare the healthcare staff so that they move out of there and so that our people in the Kerio Valley suffer. We feel that this banditry, we no longer want to call it banditry because it's no longer about animals. It's now terrorism.
Elgeyo Marakwet Governor Wesley Rotich has expressed his frustrations towards banditry attacks in the county, saying that he has frequently received threats from the perpetrators, telling him that there is nothing the government can do as they possess powerful weapons.
I've been threatened by so many of them, telling me there is nothing that the government can do to us because we are very powerful and we have powerful guns. I want you, Professor, to bomb that area. I want you to bomb these culprits so that they know the government exists. Kwa sababu sisi tumechoka kama viongozi.
As we speak today, we saw what's happening in Elgeyo Marakwet. We believe that if nothing is not done, people will lose patience. And if we lose the patience, it means that people will now start arming themselves, and now we'll have intercommunal conflicts and fights that will not help the situation.
The governor now wants Interior Cabinet Secretary to intensify the operation that is on its 14th day in a bid to silence guns in the area. Gilbert Nalwa, TV 47.
Now, close to 700 people have been displaced in Marti, Samburu County following banditry attacks. This is despite the government conducting security operation to flush out bandits and stabilize the lives of residents of Samburu. And as Sharon Baranga reports, residents of Samburu feel neglected by the government.
If a resident from Marti in Samburu County were to recount their experiences in a statement, they would likely express that the heavens have forsaken them. Whether it's the constant threat of drought, the peril of banditry, or the loss of innocent lives to both, the people of Marti in Samburu County are facing overwhelming challenges. Tragically, even children are not being spared from the attacks.
Watoto yetu ni kwa mpili, anachunga ng'ombe. Akakuja anakunyanga mahali naitwa Asela. Akakuja akalala nini? Manyata ngine aliama. Hiyo kijana yangu ni moja. Yangu moja na dada mtoto dadangu moja. Haulewa basi hapo. Sasa hakuna kitu anajua. Analala tu watoto wadogo basi. Hakuna hata bunduki anaye. Ni kuchunga basi.
Wezi ya mifugo walifahamia hii manyata. Wakaua watoto, wakaiba ng'ombe 200. Watu 700 ambao walikuwa naishi kwa hii manyata waliama. Wakatorokea sehemu nyingine ambayo wanaweza kuwa na wakihofia maisha yao.
Despite the government talking tough and assuring the residents in bandit-prone areas that all will be well, the daring bandits persist in wreaking havoc, destabilizing the lives of hundreds of people.
Sasa hiyo watu wamesumbua sisi sana. Wamesumbua sisi sana. Kabisa amemaliza hata watu. Sasa amechukua hapo, sasa hapo amechukua ng'ombe sasa mara 2.
Wanatuma simu kwa watu hapa kwamba hiyo ng'ombe tumechukua haitoshi. Tunakujia zingine. Tunakujia zingine wamesema. Na hii maneno nataka serikali, imagine wanapiga simu, wameua hiyo watoto, wamechukua hizo ng'ombe, bado wanapiga simu wakiambia vijana hapa we are coming for more and more animals. Hii sasa ni madharau aina gani? Serikali iko President William Samoei Chirchir Arap Ruto alitangaza operation. I'm wondering carrying out their own parallel operation. Hii haiwezekani katika.
In Samburu West constituency, 5 primary schools have been shut down and hundreds of livestock stolen, even after the government launched a security operation 2 weeks ago involving the military to flush out attackers, seize illegal firearms, and end the cycle of violence.
Yale umeamua na watu naitwa bandits. Hawa jamaa wanaendelea kukujaribu. They are still continuing, Mr. President, trying you. Why are they continuing trying you, Mr. President? Wherever you are, Mr. President, I'm addressing you, President William Samoei Chirchir Arap Ruto. Hata hii jina Chirchir mimi peke yake ndio najua katika Kenya.
We are also vulnerable because the national government is disarming Samburus na anyang'anyi wapokot bunduki na polisi wanaogopa kwenda hapo chini. So we are also vulnerable on that side.
wamedisplace watu zaidi ya 1,500. Na sisi tunataka kuambia serikali karibu tufike mwisho.
Despite the presence and assurance of heavy security forces such as the Rapid Deployment Unit, General Service Unit, Anti-Stock Theft Unit, and General Duty Officers, bandits persist in wreaking havoc in Samburu. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Now, shortage of fuel in Nairobi has caused panic amongst motorists ahead of the review by Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA. And March 14th, for the better part of Monday and Tuesday, motorists claimed that several filling stations across the city had turned them away due to lack of fuel. However, the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, POC, has refuted claims that the country had run out of fuel stock, attributing to the shortage experienced in some parts of the country to artificial hoarding by a section of oil marketers. Mike Kagungu reports.
For the past 2 days, drivers in Nairobi have been experiencing fuel shortages as some major oil marketing companies have run out of stocks and are turning away motorists. A spot check by TV47 revealed that several filling stations in parts of the capital Nairobi had run out of petroleum products from the weekend, with those owned by oil marketer Vivo Energy among the hardest hit. Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya Chairman Martin Chomba refuted claims that the country had run out of fuel stock, attributing the shortage experienced in some parts of the country to artificial hoarding by a section of oil marketers.
And I want to inform the country that the information on my desk is that we have enough and sufficient fuel to last us a few weeks, and then again we also have scheduled ships to dock anytime and discharge, and as such we should not have issues in terms of supply anytime soon. I don't anticipate that.
According to Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, a cash flow crisis has been occasioned by a shortage of dollars in the market, hitting imports of the precious commodity.
Some of the multinationals have had issues to access and raise dollars to buy the product, pay for the product whenever the product lands in Mombasa, because they have great and huge market shares in the country.
Chomba's response came after motorists claimed that several filling stations across the city had turned them away due to lack of fuel. Kenya Pipeline Company KPC and EPRA have, however, not issued a statement regarding the alleged looming fuel shortage.
This is a problem that the government is trying to solve through G2G procurement of petroleum, and we hope that when this is done and the pressure that is exerted on the shilling by the dollar eased and the forex relaxes, then we'll have a resumption of the normal supply.
Oil dealers, like other importers, rely on dollars to make payments for their shipments, and the parallel exchange rates from banks had exposed them to losses. The major oil companies such as Vivo, Total Energies, Robis and Ola Energy buy fuel in bulk and supply it to smaller independent retail outlets, meaning that a shortage to these top firms cascades down to the smaller players. Kenya is currently battling an acute shortage to US dollars, primarily due to pressure exerted by debt repayments. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, rally driver Maxine is set to be charged with murder in the case involving the death of her boyfriend Asad Khan. The Director of Public Prosecution requested that she be detained at Kilimani Police Station for a mental assessment before entering her plea in court.
Rally driver Maxine Wamae will now be appearing before the Criminal Division of the High Court on Wednesday to give a statement on murder charges involving her boyfriend Asad Khan, who died in mysterious circumstances last December. The prosecutors asked the court to detain Maxine at the Kilimani Police Station for a mental assessment before she takes the plea on Wednesday.
Respondent be detained at Kilimani Police Station under the custody of the DCI Kilimani. The DCIO and the IO are in court. She will be detained in that station for the purpose of processing for her to take plea for murder tomorrow at the High Court.
This is after State Prosecutor James Gash completed the investigations into the death of Asad Khan and forwarded the file to the High Court. Some weeks ago, Senior Principal Magistrate Bernard Achoy declined to close the investigations file following an objection by Asad Khan's family. The family opposed a move by the police to close the investigations into Asad's death before a decision was made whether or not to charge the suspect Maxine Wahome.
And the last application before you, Your Honor, is that the miscellaneous application before you be marked as closed as investigations are complete and the respondent will be arraigned tomorrow.
Has presented herself in court on each and every occasion required, has cooperated with the investigation at every step, and indeed, no basis has been laid to say that she will not be present in court tomorrow.
Asad Khan died in mysterious circumstances in December last year, and it is alleged that he was injured after a scuffle with his girlfriend Maxine Wahome at their residence in Nairobi. Wahome was arrested on December 12 and detained at Kilimani after a report of the assault was reported by Adil Khan, Asad's younger brother. Asad was later rushed to Nairobi Hospital before being transferred to Avenue Hospital for a blood transfusion. He was then reported dead. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, Kenya National Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, GOPET, now wants the implementation of junior secondary school halted and the Presidential Working Party on Education reforms disbanded. GOPET says the party relied on public opinion to give the second interim report that directed grade 7 learners to be domiciled in primary schools, causing more confusion than solutions in the transition of junior secondary school learners. Andrin Kilemi with that.
The ongoing discussion surrounding the transition to junior secondary school is gaining momentum. The Kenya National Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, GOPET, is currently attributing the mess observed in the transition to the Presidential Working Party on Education reforms.
Na tulifanya makosa makubwa vile mmeambiwa. Makosa tulifanya ni kwamba ile Presidential Task Force ambayo ilitengenezwa haikutumia ujasiri wa kielimu kuamua kwamba junior secondary school wawe katika sekondari ama wawe katika primary. Wakaamua wawe katika shule za misingi sababu walipiga kura ya maoni. Tafadhalini msikize hii tena. Walipiga kura ya maoni na maoni mengi yakapendelea kwamba hao wanafunzi waende katika shule za msingi. Mambo ya elimu haipigiwi kura ya maoni. Mambo ya elimu mara mingi utakikana ujasiri wa kielimu na research ambao zimefanywa kuwezesha hiyo elimu kuendeshwa vyema.
GOPET Secretary General Akelo Misori urged the government to dissolve the Presidential Working Party on Education reforms immediately. Misori claimed that the team's critical error was to stray from the CBC implementation plan without adequately considering their recommendations.
These are things which any sensible person ought to have seen, that common sense requires that you look at it with objectivity, not with partisan interest of opinion poll. This is the problem.
The union also wants grade 7 learners domiciled in secondary schools, further proposing for a discontinuation of learning in junior secondary schools until a solution is found.
When you have learners who are going untaught, then you are creating more psychological torture to them than if you even suspended the learning currently for even 2 months to reorganize yourself on how they can properly transition to a more accommodative environment in terms of space.
GOPET now says only a stakeholders meeting can address the JSS problems before they morph into a full-blown crisis. Andrin Akilemi, TV 47.
Nakuru have launched a manhunt for a male suspect who allegedly murdered his wife by stabbing her over 7 times within Racecourse Estate in Nakuru County Tuesday afternoon. The man is later said to have fled the area immediately after committing the crime. Chichi Josephine tells us more.
Amos Njuguna allegedly stabbed 41-year-old Winnie Chepkurui, a mother of 3, 7 times in the stomach at their residence due to unresolved disputes that are currently being investigated by the police. Nakuru East Sub-County Police Commander Martin Maseka has confirmed the incident and stated that they were alerted by a member of the public at around 1 p.m. However, the suspect had already fled the scene by the time they arrived.
We received a report at about 1:30 that somebody had been murdered. We have checked the body. We have seen about 7 stabs on the stomach and even below the breast on the right-hand side. Then there are several cuts in the face. About, the ones I've counted, there are about 6 cuts. So we are informed that she was with the husband, but we are not able to find the husband. But he's the first suspect that we are looking so that we can get information from him. He disappeared.
According to Monica Nyambura, who takes care of the couple's youngest child, a daughter in grade 1, the suspect had lied to her that they were attacked while returning from Narok to Nakuru. He then gave her some items and left.
Hizi vitu zenye nimeshika ni mzee aliniletea kwetu kwenye naishi. Akaniambia shika hizi vitu ni zetu na tumevamiwa tukitoka Mount Narok. Tumevamiwa na tumepigwa. Nikamuuliza mnavamiwa mchana? Akanipea ni simu, zilikuwa simu na ufunguo ya gari na ufunguo ya nyumba. Akaniambia, nikamuuliza na mama ako wapi? Tumeenda kuripoti. Ameendaga, mimi namfuata. Ameniambia hivyo alafu akatoka akaenda.
Based on reports received from residents, the couple were involved in unresolved domestic wrangles over a period of time.
Mimi naonaga tu wakiwa pamoja mpaka wanapitaga kwa estate wakiuza, wakionekana watu wanakaa pamoja.
We have seen at the scene there were a bit of some struggle. Yeah, because clothes are thrown all over. You can see that there was a struggle before I think this lady was killed.
The body of the deceased was taken to PNN Hospital mortuary as the police officially launched the manhunt for the suspect. Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
All right. Once again, happy International Women's Day, and it's a girls' affair this morning. After a very long time, we have ladies on set, and so we get to see whether they'll be able to discuss politics. Some of them politicians, one of them an entrepreneur. But even as we say that she's an entrepreneur, in this time and age, I doubt there's anyone who would be surviving without little knowledge on politics. So we'll put her to task. And after all, we're saying that it's time that ladies get themselves onto the table. And how do you get yourself on the table if you are not aware of what is happening? The current affair, let's just call it that. And so we get into this conversation with them this morning. I am delighted to host Angela Ondeje. We'll be having Justina Wamae. And equally, shortly, we introduce Joyce Keter for this very conversation. Ladies, happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
And karibu to Morning Cafe. For the very first time, the two of you, she's been here. She's a member. Sindio? And she's a member because she's a politician somehow. So as we get into this conversation with great knowledge on matters governance and politics, I think it's only fair that we say that as ladies, we have made strides. We should be patting ourselves, and saying that, it's not been an easy journey. The ones that came before us have done us proud. And the beauty of it is that we're taking the cue proper and doing it right. So karibu sana once again. It's an honor to have you join us this morning. And so Joyce Keter is right next to me. Joyce Keter is a governance and political expert. It's good to have you. Justina, Justina, ibu salimia watu.
Hi guys. Changamke, because tuko na story fiti.
Yes, and Angie here is an entrepreneur and cultural changer. That is, of course, a change maker who champions of African women, matters economy. I don't know whether women like it so much so, but we love the fact that also we have so many ladies that are getting into the space of entrepreneurship and doing it well. Salimia watu.
Good morning, and I hope we'll all enjoy the discussion today.
Yes, yes, yes. I was asking my producer, can you do some bit of politics?
Yes.
You can, yeah?
Yes.
You're aware of what
no
is happening,
politics
yeah?
without economics.
Yeah, that's
no
true.
economics without politics.
And I mean, the politics of the day is basically about the economics. Do you
Yes.
think the Kenya Kwanza government is getting it right?
Well, I will not be too political about it, but I'm more keen to see what policies they have in place and whether or not they can actually implement policies that have been there that have not been able to come to play. So like the 2/3 gender rule, it's very critical to see whether or not they'll be able to push for more female representation in different spaces and do it in the right way. So I will not say that so far so good, but I do have my eye on them.
Improvement,
yes,
yeah, there's room for improvement. I agree. Justina, you will be joining the mass action team, or?
No, I'm an opposition by myself.
Okay.
Actually, I am co-soaring, or I'm just looking at what opposition, the senior opposition is doing and those in government. And I feel they're all failing. It's time for Kenyans to look into different kind of leadership that is people-oriented. And so I'm not joining them. Actually, they should join me because I'm coming in.
What is there? What is there on your end?
My end is that the conversation is people-centric. We are focusing on economics and the simple bit of economics. If government is saying they are going to widen the tax base, but they go to overtax the already formal guys, you know, telling people NSSF will be increased. I feel they're not widening, should be formalizing even those who are not formal, you know, the mama mboga and the watu wa boda boda. So I feel government is not doing well on their end. They are the ones who gave us a scorecard for 100 days. So they need to do something because Kenyans feel they are being overburdened by the tax. Yes.
All right, and I mean, the tax conversation is here with us. Adjustments on the question of the budget as well here with us. What does this day mean to you?
This day, it's a celebration of the political, social, cultural achievements, the strides that we have made as women collectively, and also individual achievements that we have made. And it's also a day where we look at the inequalities that we have and we bring them to the fore so that we can gain even more as women. Yes.
All right. So what does it mean to you as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as a girl, you know, looking at the patriarchal society that we're in? And in as much as we say we've made strides, the patriarchy aspect is so rooted, it becomes hard for us to even imagine that it's going to come a time where we'll root it out in totality.
So as an entrepreneur, I actually work with women not in Kenya, but across Africa. And with that, I have been able to see the challenges of women firsthand, because I work with women at different levels. My consumers are women. The women who create and design our products are women at the grassroots level. So this day to me is very important because it's a symbol of empowerment. Empowerment not only for women, but economic empowerment of Africa as a whole. So when I look at International Women's Day, for me, I understand the system of patriarchy that we were born into, but we are the ones who actually actively root it out through the decisions we make. By intentionally choosing to work with women. And many people come and see my team and they're like, gender rule. I'm like, we do have men on the team, but the core of my business as an entrepreneur is actually held afloat by women. So if other women who are in business take up such intentional decisions, then it actually ni haba na haba. So if I do it and the next woman does it, we will actively ensure that, number one, we've put women into spaces and places where they are economically empowered. Number two, that we are actively doing what we say. To root out patriarchy, you have to do it yourself. And not only you, within that community space, within your family, because we're rooted in a community, a family first, and then into this bigger business space or into politics and all these other spaces second. So it's a very slow and progressive sort of action and journey.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be coming shortly to understand some more about what it is that you do.
Yes.
That has gotten you saying that, we have to make sure that we place the woman or the girl child there.
Yes.
Because the boy child then is saying,
yes,
you are neglecting us. You have seen the second lady crying literally
yes,
as to this. So allow us to take a short break and then we come back and expound that more.
Here, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
This is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, like this is alive. Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia. Kwa sura zao zinapong'aa hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori la historia. Katika kipindi Ufahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mucho.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes, and I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Lover of farming? Well, Kilimo Diaries is your home for different farming ventures, crops, animals, and so much more. Every Sunday, with a new year comes endless possibilities, and as we continue to tell the stories of those abled differently, do make sure to join us on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7.
But while consolidating the voice of the men, because we need to move together as a country. And there's this question Pastor Dorcas always asks, who will marry these women? So I think everything should be geared towards empowering both genders. And we don't want to be called Wango Makeri, The attitude that men have towards us probably is the reason why many women who after election went home and experienced gender-based violence because their husband could not understand what they're doing in politics. But if we work together and move together as both genders, I believe we'll be moving in the right direction. And suffice to say that the woman of today, with the shrinking opportunities, she needs to have new skill sets, she has to be creative and innovative. It's not really important about being financed, being politics. I think if we are to change the conversation of this country, then we should be having very bright ideas that are resonating with Kenyans, and people will start saying, okay, irrespective of the fact that they are women, they are also delivering. And that goes to challenge those in power, the women who are gone before us in power. Their performance will be a determinant to how other women will get into the space. Yes.
Oh yes, so let's talk about that, and I'm glad that you bring it up. Very important conversation. I am not a hater. but I have had this conversation for the longest of time, since that time when we clearly saw our ladies taking up the challenge, and lately when we have so many of them, representing us, in specific quarters of power. Do you feel like they're doing the right thing to propel the woman out there? If we talk about, say, this seat that comes, courtesy of affirmative action, that is the women rep position, we have numerously hard calls to lose this particular seat because there's that general feel that the women are not doing, what it is that is supposed to be done. What do you make of those ones that are representing us at leadership levels?
I think, okay, first you mentioned something that I think has really triggered me, that people are mentioning that the affirmative action seats maybe should be scraped off, which to me, I feel like would be many strides backwards for the women agenda, because let's look at someone like the Samburu women representative who was given affirmative, she was nominated in the last parliament.
Yeah.
And because of that, because of her nomination in society where they would not have elected her as a woman, this time round she came back and she got an elective seat as the MP for Samburu West. So I believe the affirmative action, it's very necessary because there are some societies which they will never elect you as a woman. So it is important for this affirmative action to bring women up and just show that yes, we can, yes, we are able to lead. And it's very important. I think it has really triggered me in a way that we'll be going so many
Perhaps hence my
back.
question, the women representatives, forget all the other seats, the women representatives, do you suppose they are doing enough to make sure that, they are convincing to the world that indeed we actually need these ladies. They're doing a good job. They're representing us well at the level of parliament and even back at home, because by the time people are sitting to even discuss that this seat should be scrapped off, it's because there's something that we're not doing right.
Okay, what's important to note is this is an affirmative seat. It's not a seat where they are there to represent. People confuse it as you are there to represent, what can I say? It's an affirmative seat for women to have a position in government.
But they're supposed to do something, using this position that they have, that has been accorded to them. They represent a certain constituency.
Yes.
They represent the people. They have funds, directed to that very same position.
Yes.
So, in as much as it's an affirmative action seat, we need to see something come out of this position.
So the budget that is in that seat, actually, it's not enough.
What are they doing with it? Are you convinced?
With a little, I think some of them are really making strides. With a little, some of them are making strides, and you would see them having, like they would give pads to the girls. And also they would empower some of the people living with disabilities, and that's part of the mandate of the women representative seat. So some of them are making strides, some of them it's a bit questionable, but
you see, these ones are considered as members of parliament, and they represent a whole county, interestingly, contrary to what the other members of parliament are representing, so a certain constituency, and perhaps they get the same amount of money. So it would be justified for them to ask for more. But even with the little that has been accorded to them, have you felt the presence of your woman representative in whichever capacity, that one at home or in Nairobi?
I'll say no. And I'll tell you why. I believe that Senator Gloria made more of a statement than many women reps have. Politics, especially around the issues of gender, is not supposed to be comfortable. It's not supposed to be an area where you come out and sit with your beautiful makeup and your beautiful dress. It's actually supposed to be very proactive. And I have not felt the proactivity of that particular seat in terms of policy, in terms of pushing agendas from the grassroots level, because you're elected to a certain area. So say I'm from Kitui. We've had women reps right?
Right.
And when you look at that particular position, yes, maybe some will argue that their JD was not clearly stated out, or they did not have very clear set out KPIs for the term that they were in office, or this or that. But your role there, and it's what Justina said, your role there is actually actively going to determine what other women who come after us are going to face, right? So yes, I see why the position is under question, because when many of these women were elected to office, either the challenges were too many or the job description was not clear enough, but they did not actively give us a reason to support it, even as women. So when you sit down, you ask yourself, and many Kenyans will ask themselves, what beyond the role of affirmative action, what is the clear job description? What are the clear KPIs of women reps? It's a critical thing, and there is, as we said earlier, if we lose that position, we're going back 5, 10 years, 15 years, right? To try and redo or undo what has already been done. I don't think the position needs to be lost. I just think we need bolder women in these spaces.
And you know, a position under threat, clearly. Let's take, for instance, Nairobi, and today we're supposed to celebrate our own and not criticize them.
Yes.
But let's talk about Esther Passaris, for instance. I would personally say I felt her more during the Adopter Light times in comparison to this time when she is woman representative. And I know she's doing so much, so to speak, perhaps maybe it's just because it has not gotten to my level. Maybe I've had the privilege of, you know, hosting her here and there. I still feel like there's more that she can do. What do you make of this position, and what will it take for us to protect it? Because that is the greatest fear as at now.
From where I sit, leading goes hand with hand with influencing. I think there are some committees the women can't sit, there are positions in the committee women can't hold.
Yeah.
So I think one, they're not empowered, or rather we need to strengthen the position by using the standing orders in Bunge. But when I look at this position, I've met 3 types of Kenyans during campaigns. There are those Kenyans who fund. So for them, their interest is, I'm giving this party money, but I have my own policy interest.
Right.
Then there are Kenyans who are in the middle class. They are the people who are listening to us on YouTube right now going to work. So politicians rarely find them on the ground. And then there are people who we find on the ground. Those are the ones who benefit from the pads that the women rep gives them.
Yeah.
So probably the pads is not an issue for me. I don't need to be given pads, but they focus so much on the grassroots people who many a times focus on who has more money or who's giving me more. So I feel in as much as they have a budget that they're doing what they're doing, there are people who feel there's a level that feels them. But they need to remember their core role is legislation, oversight and representation.
Yep.
So when we're having a conversation on policy, what policy have you taken to Bunge? What have you influenced? If it's about women in business, women who we were told 30% of tenders, have you followed up to see that the challenges women are facing are finances? Why? Because the government is borrowing from local banks. Local banks cannot fund a local person, you know. Of course, funding a Kenyan is riskier than funding the government or loaning government money. So I believe in as much as they give us pads on the ground, which is very good, policy. And that is why I said the woman of this century needs to know that opportunities are shrinking. So they need better skills, they need to be creative, they need to be innovative. And I always give this story, those guys who've watched House of Cards. There's no day we ever see Frank Underwood going to on the ground. They're always, you know, talking about policy. When we do this, what is the impact? So what I think of Parliament of today in Kenya, influencers or impactors more on policy. Policies that are making sense to the local mwananchi, policies where when there is an importation tax that is put into, they are asking themselves, what is the impact to the local mwananchi? When we are told we are going to have a Kenya Square, selling Chinese products, really, are we making sense? So that is the conversation these women should be driving in Bunge. Of course, men have been reluctant, they are relaxing, they feel they have no challenge. But if the women came together and give ideas that are making sense, Kenyans will feel, wow, this position is...
Do we even believe in all this? Because giving an idea is one thing. Speaking of policies is another. But then again, there's also that aspect of believing in the whole idea. And they will tell you that we are our worst enemies. I used to sort of feel like this is cliche, this is just a me, this is just a story. But literally, when you're now following up on the activities in Parliament and you want for them to pass the 2/3 gender rule and they do not show up, is when you realize that actually we are our own enemies. So how can we even speak of policies if such is the problem?
I think the women of today, the shrinking opportunities, I always blame the lack of opportunities. So people are very territorial. They're like, I used money, I'm here, so they don't want to uplift any other woman.
Yeah.
And that is why I tell women, because there's so many strategies people use to get into politics. But I tell women, as long as you're bright, you're talented, use your talent, you'll be noticed. Don't even focus about other people or someone pulling up your hand. Actually, I moved away from expecting to be pulled up because you get frustrated. But the more you're doing things differently, you'll be noticed. So let's not expect women in power to help us. Let us just find our way there, be different, and you'll stand out.
Well, Joyce, I don't know how different we're supposed to be. Angie here speaks of Gloria Uruba and that daring move. I look at Justina and I thought it was all daring to even come and tell us stuff to do with weed, and you were really, and she was so convincing. You know, I watched her convince us during the presidential debate moment, and I thought, actually, you know, the whole idea is just for you to understand your craft and you'll get everybody, you know, joining your bandwagon and your gospel. Should we be extra in, you know, how we approach some of these things, and how extra can extra be? Extreme, you know, something that looks a little bit uncomfortable, or just what exactly?
So I think as a woman, it's important for you to be bold. Yeah, when you're bold and you show that this is what I stand for, this is what I want, that is when probably you will stand out as a woman. But I was looking at the info track, just the some of the 10 most performing women representatives of the last government.
Yes.
And one of them is Kawera Mwangaza, who...
Interestingly, that's why she got to that level of the governor.
Yeah, and you can see how bold she is and how outspoken she is as a woman. So I think it's important just when you look at... And another one is Gladys Boschole, Gladys Wanga. So... you can see those are women that are really outspoken. So you just using that example, it shows you as a woman you need to be out there, you need to put yourself out there, and you need to be bold.
Okay, bold is one thing, but you're human beyond being bold, and I mean society will not always be smiling at you when you're pulling these bold moves and stand, and she will tell you that. I mean, how do they delicately approach this aspect of being bold? You know, because I will tell you, it must have crushed Gloria Uruba to look at some of the comments that came across, even from fellow women in Parliament, at the Senate, and even those ones that are members of the Senate. Remember, the main aim was to as well push for a bill. And so you're thinking, this bill is the ultimate goal. Just who will support me if from day one, then they are bashing me, and this is what they are saying. I must tell you that it took some strength for her to stand and convince the world that, you know what, this is my gospel, this is what I believe in. I believe if you believe in this, then we are all safe. So how do they just delicately work on this and manage to get themselves up there?
Well, I think one of the beauties of being a woman is that we are born with an intrinsic strength. One that you cannot easily explain. You are feminine, you are soft, but you are strong and you are bold. That is God-given. So in whatever space or place you find yourself in, we do not expect that we'll make these changes by being loved by everybody. And I love what Justina did, because she stood for her truth. And to date, if you mention her name, we know who she is. Right? We know who she is. It obviously did not come without challenges. Gloria faced bashing from women.
In Senate.
In Senate.
And beyond.
And beyond. And online. But guess what? As you stand for your truth, even if 10% stand with you, 90% will stand with you. And that is what we need to do. We need to stand for our truth. And 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 we need to then you know you're doing something right. If deep down you believe that the change you're going to make is going to be of good to more people than those who are not supporting you, then it's worth fighting for. Because again, this is a God-given power that has been bestowed upon women. If you read the Proverbs 31 woman, she wasn't a woman without her challenges, right? She woke up early, she worked, her husband sat at the city gate. And we support our husbands and our families. I am a mother to sons, right?
Oh,
so yes, even as I support the gender agenda, right, I'm very cognizant to know that we exist not as solo beings, but as people who have feelings, as people who have truths. So for all women who are in these places and spaces where they feel the need to be bold, I say stand by your truth.
Right.
Stand by your truth, and you will find a tribe and community of other women who will hold you, and other men who will hold you and support you towards achieving your goal. Yes.
All right, so Justina, here we are. What would you say that experience was like for you in terms of growth? And I know you come from that space also of entrepreneurship, and we'll be talking about what it is that you do later on. But just how did it build you? How did it make you better? Such that you say, you know what, if such an opportunity presents itself, I will go with it, run with it again and again.
It wasn't easy, but I attribute my support system. I have a very strong support system at home. But what I would say, you meet Kenyans on social media who are very bitter. And I always say they're bitter because of the poor economy. I believe they're good people. It's only that the economy is very harsh. They want to be harsh. And there's a time I saw Gloria said she was contemplating leaving social media. But my advice to her would have been, Gloria, my social media feeds are for information. Kenyans have an interest in your life, in my life, so don't engage, just keep them informed.
Okay.
And that is why, of course I'm human, at times I feel like responding to someone, but I realize, no, these guys, they're very good people, let me not deal with them. So just keep Kenyans informed, but don't engage them. The experience really built me. Remember, I had a fallout with my boss at some point, but I believed I had an agreement. The moment you remember what your conversation was the very first day, you'll never go behind what you agreed. So the fallout, I got a lot of bashing, and many Kenyans were telling me you should submit. And I would tell them, he's not my husband, we were working.
I'm one of them who thought, Justina ametoka nini, angekaa ngumu hapo. Because now she looks like she doesn't understand what she wants. I will tell you, I have said that 1,000,001 times. Justina angekaa ngumu hapo. But you, tell us why.
But I left because you see, the conversation about supporting Azimio was not in our initial agreement. And also people started branding us as a project.
Were you not?
We were not. We really worked. Let me tell you.
You know, sometimes it's the boss that has the script and you're playing and dancing to the tune without knowing.
But you know, when we went there, I put something on the table. Something on the table was the 2,000 copies of ID in the counties that we had been asked.
Yes.
That was what I put on the table. And I'm happy because my family and my husband really contributed towards my vision.
Right.
If I had been stringed along, maybe I would have said I didn't have anything. The boss gave up on that project. He had a case in court regarding that, which failed. So I took the responsibility as brand Justina and my team, and that is what I put on the table. If we were a project, then government would have given us the requirements. We were not given. So when I left because we never agreed to support Azimio. And remember, my boss says he's 62 years old. In Bible, you have 70 years to live. I'm only 35, so I have 35 more years, God willing, in Kenya. So I wouldn't risk Kenya and saying that I'm a project or the tag watermelon. I don't want to inherit it from Kalonzo. That is why I had to stand firm and leave. But I realized Kenyans are always saying, if your husband is beating you, speak up. But when it comes to politics, they're telling you, don't outshine the master. You see, so we are a society that is very contradictory. And I always pose a challenge. I tell them, Kenyans, you know rule number 1 very well. Don't outshine the master. But rule number 40 is where you draw the line. Rule number 40 says, despise the free lunch. So you want to change the country, but you want free things. So Kenyans should stop being hypocritical. Kenyans need to be realistic. Kenyans need to know we're in this situation because they have refused to invest in the process. Yes.
Interesting. So equity, equality, empowerment, which is which? Should we stop talking about this conversation of, you know, equality and just focus on building us, or should we really try and push this one? Because it looks like it's going to take a while for us to get to a space where we say now equality 100%.
Let me first just contribute
to what it is
to the challenges, because
yeah.
I also ran for an elective post, and it's important to acknowledge that some of the decisions, especially in politics, happen at odd hours of the night. And you as a woman, you have so many responsibilities. So I felt like that was one of the challenges, because you are working throughout, and you're expected to actually
attend this meeting.
To attend the meetings, because if you miss, then you'll definitely miss the decisions that were made at 3 a.m. in the night.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's only fair that you tell them at what point, you were vying for what position. Very, very important. Deputy?
I was vying for deputy governor for Trans Nzoia in the Kenya Kwanza ticket.
Yes.
Yes. So that's one of the
challenges. Was it a Kenya Kwanza? What ticket was that exactly?
It was a Ford Kenya ticket, which
that is Wamalwa, yeah?
Yes, Chris Wamalwa.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So that one I felt was really something very tasking for me in terms of time. And also another thing is that we need to acknowledge is the money that someone needs, and as a woman we're not accorded the same opportunities as men to make enough money. So in terms of just running for an elective post and you don't have the kind of resources that men have, that was a real challenge.
Another challenge, and I'll tell you this, and sometimes I say I plead guilty, but then I just have to come back to my senses and remind myself that, Linda, you are where is it you are because of merit. So why do you assume that because she's beautiful and pretty, we were Malwa there's no way it is straight. I mean, we get that a lot.
Yes, we get that a lot, and not only in politics, but in business spaces, where you are first considered a beautiful woman before you're considered a brilliant woman.
Yeah.
And these are some of the things that we have to find a way to work around. I always say that I have an extremely supportive husband, because for him, going to these spaces, you need to go for a meeting, go. And he's accorded me a level of trust that actually many people do not understand. But I think I am a beautiful woman. Compliment me.
Yes, I'll give it to you.
Yes, I will take that. Thank you very much. But after we take it, can we very quickly get to the business of the day? And that's something that very many women have to adopt, because, well, I have been interested in politics as well. And I remember entering many of these spaces, and the first thing people will do is compliment you and try dodge the conversation. But I think that's part of being bold. Tell me I'm pretty, thank you. Very much. I'm here because of A, B, C, D. Can we get to the business and move?
All right, Joyce, back to you.
You know what people say is the first profession, which we all know what the first profession is. It's not far off from the second profession, which is politics. And so it's a sad reality that those situations are there, and women also, those are challenges that actually women face. And I remember when I was running, there were so many, you must be this person's girlfriend, or this person's niece, or this person's, you must be having a godfather as a woman. And that was far from the truth. It was far from the truth.
I agree. Because people are saying I was my boss's wife. And I was telling people, you can't work even with your husband. If you're with him the whole day, you'll fight. So I realized we Kenyans also need to grow their mentality, mental capacity. It's like when you were kids, you'd see a doctor and say the nurse is his wife. So I think we need to really mature up. But I also thank my husband. He was with me along the way. Actually, he acted like my driver the whole time. And we'd go on the ground, and the boss would say, "Wapi bwana huyu mama?"
So because anajua lazima atakuwa. Was it not because he was a little bit insecure?
Oh, my husband. No, we met in politics. When I ran in 2017, he was also running in the same constituency. And it's something I told him. For us to be in politics, for us to survive the waves, for us to survive the scandals, I think actually it has helped me no one has really come up with something to mudsling me that I'm someone's girlfriend. It's because he was around me. And this was a family initiative, a family vision. And that's why I always encourage women. Sometimes you'll tell your husband, I want to do this, and then your husband is, you know, adamant, he won't agree. But convince him, instead of you going out doing it alone, and then you come back home and find people moved on without you. So for us, it was a family vision, which we cherish up to now, you know, we go together. But I want Kenyans to stop seeing, or rather it's up to us women to change the conversation. When people say you've been nominated because you're someone's girlfriend, it even lowers the quality of women we have in power. Because you've gone there, you're not passionate about politics or policy, you're there because your boyfriend got your position. But if more women who are saying, I'm not your girlfriend, my husband is not in politics, but I have a family, this is my vision. Actually, even people will start saying, you know, politics is it's a career that has respect, that has integrity. So the women who are before us are the ones who really need to change and shape the conversation. Because they're the ones who made Kenyans say that Linda Alela's husband is the co-host, you know.
And then you wonder, and for the longest time, I would speak of Janet Mugu and Hussein Mohammed as husband.
Imagine, you know, at least we've seen the others who are now together, Rashid and his wife. But every time when they see people working together, Kenyans assume you're married.
Something, there has to be something. Mama Kayai was drugged husband. I know. Allow us to take a short break and then we come back. Perhaps wind up on this very conversation.
Here, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
This is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, you know, like this is alive. Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia, kwa sura zao zinapong'aa hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori na historia. Katika kipindi Ufahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutu.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes. And I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m.
All right, in studio, Angela Ondeje is with us this morning, as well as Justina Wamae and Joyce Keter, able ladies doing, you know, what they can do best in their own space. And so as we celebrate this morning, or this very day of the women, we celebrate them that are in studio with me, and as well those ones that are doing whatever it is that they're doing in their capacity. You're a mother, you are, you know, in politics, you are in the world of, you know, business, whatever it is that you're doing in your capacity, we salute you as a woman. And so we come back to the very conversation. We look at this strides, because that's the most important thing about this day. It is not to look at the difficulties, because difficulties will always be there, not to look at the challenges, because they will always there, but to learn from them and acknowledge that those ones that came before us have done something, and it's incumbent upon us to make it even better. So Angie, as we get to this conversation, I wanted to ask, so do we speak about equality still, or we have outgrown that?
I think the conversation now is more along the lines of equity, right? More along the lines of equity, to see that sometimes equality leaves out the conversation because it's never 50-50. Even when you look at the family setting, today my husband will carry more weight, tomorrow I'll be able to carry more weight. And even on a national scale, I don't think it will ever be 50-50, but can we at least ensure a level of equity? I say from an economic perspective, we've made great strides. It's easier today for a woman to start a business than it ever was, to open a bank account, to open an M-Pesa till. So women are more economically empowered now than they even were 5 years ago. And it is because of this very intentional steps towards equity that have ensured that we are in these places. So I think for us here now and today is to see how women at different places, different levels and different stages of their lives can get at least an not equal playing ground, but an advantage that accords them opportunities, as Justina said.
So Justina, yes, let's look at the papers this morning. You know, it's only fair that we look at the papers. That's what we do on this show.
Yes.
Most of the time we look at the papers, perhaps just look at some of the stories that have been captured. And so this morning I'll say we won't focus on everything and anything, but we'll focus on stories that involve ladies, Not to criticize, but to just say, okay, well, how do we learn from some of the mistakes that we have made, or some of the gains that we have made? How do we propel them further? Embrace Equity International Women's Day and the faces of those that have done well in the digital space, in spaces of innovation. We appreciate that. But equally, there's a story on the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, which is making headlines. So allow us to say something small about that, because these are the women that have been given the chance to serve in very crucial positions. And when we're saying very crucial, we also acknowledge that this is towards us attaining the 2/3 gender rule. You must have seen this.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
One thing I've noticed about Kenyans, they really bash women when something happens. But Kenyans forget that when you have a boss who's a man and there's a woman, you cannot do anything. But when you have a boss who's male and a subordinate or a junior who's male, they can even fight.
They can do something.
They can even fight.
Okay.
Wanapigana mangumi. So as a woman, you tend to be more intimidated. And when your boss tells you, because she says the boss she was under duress, maybe she felt intimidated. But I generally want to blame poverty in all this. In Chinua Achebe's book, A Man of the People, Odili tells us that when it rains and you get into a house and you change your clothes, you're more reluctant to go back into the rain. Right. So the rain in this context is a poverty and an unemployment. She would have easily, in other countries, she would have resigned and said, I'm not doing this. But she was caught in a place where, what if Azimio comes into power and they say he didn't do anything? So she had to really listen and do what the boss was telling her. So I think actually she's not spoiling for the women. She's just trying to show the plight of, you might be in a position but your hands are tied and you cannot do anything about it. You just have to be loyal to the boss. But I always tell people, because many guys are saying, oh, ungebaki hapo roots nini. I say, if you're not afraid of being out there, then you're going to be the right person for the job. Because you look at, am I serving my country or the boss or myself? If you're really passionate about the country, then you'll do what is right by the country. So for her, if it was even someone else or a man, they would have done the same, because people knew Azimio was going to get into power. So she was doing what the boss was telling her.
Chapter 6 of the Constitution, integrity. Before anybody gets into this position, female, male, Chapter 6 of the Constitution is supreme. Does she get away with this? Remember, she's holding a position, and on top of her is another boss who is male. What does it tell us?
Linda, you've just taken words out of my mouth, because I wanted to say this is not about her being a woman. It's about integrity. It's about integrity. It's not about female or male. It's about, does she have integrity? And I don't think she does have integrity. And it's really important for us to remember the Deputy President saying, Vile, the coffers were ilikuwa inafagiliwa
Empty, yeah.
literally it was empty, and 15 billion is not one, it's not one bob. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So I don't think I can, for me, I'm not, I don't know, I don't support whatever.
I'm not saying she can get
away with
it. But what I'm trying to say is that, for example, the deputy president and the president, we are being told they have burst their full year's budget as of now. So it goes to say that everyone in this country is not being truthful, is not transparent, is not accountable.
As if you read my mind, because the next question too, Angie, was, do we have any integrity left anyway?
We don't have, because as long as public sector is lucrative, let me tell you, the day we'll go to a point where you're serving the nation because you love your country, you're patriotic, irrespective of the salary, then we'll be doing well. But as long as being in politics means I give you money, I spend cash, I'll go there, get my return on investment. So it goes back to the citizens of this country. What do they want for their country? Because the money they ate, even me, if I used money in politics and I got a seat, I'm not perfect. I'll recoup my money. That is a business for me. So I want Kenyans to have the conversation about people who go into politics are serving the nation. They're patriotic, they're good citizens, they're active citizens, as opposed to let the richest person get there. Because if you say that, that's business, that means you'll continue losing money. So it is a deliberate decision by Kenyans that for them to invest in the transformation of this country, then they need to, for them to see transformation, they need to invest in the process.
Then the question is, out of the 15 billion, did she have a cut? Because it's about an integrity. Was there a cut for her?
Okay.
It's about...
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to pose it back to Kenyans. Because very quickly we look at the political class and we say, that is corruption, that is wrong, it's only politicians, da. Can we go back to the small spaces? Can we go back to you in a place of power as a manager? Can we go back to you in a place of power as a procurement officer? Right? We study about these things, and you see many of the people who are in these spaces will say they've gone through university and they've completed their degrees, right? But the key thing that many courses teach is actually on ethics and morality and integrity. But it's very difficult for Kenyans to point a finger towards a political class and then go back to their offices and go and make cuts or and go and cut deals within your office or your corporate space. So it's actually a thing for all Kenyans to look back into themselves. As I point a finger this way, these ones that are pointed back at me, am I doing the right thing in my business, in my office place? Am I actually upholding the level of morality that I hold the political class?
Just how friendly is the environment to allow you to stick to the aspect of...
There's an element of greed, because I can tell you there's actually more than enough for us to thrive within the spaces we are in. But then the level of undercutting that is there, even in business, is unethical.
Because of scarcity.
Even in day-to-day.
Because of scarcity.
Of resources.
Poverty.
And poverty brings scarcity of opportunity, of opportunities. But when you asked about did she get a cut, it takes me back to the NY scandal back in 2015. My classmate was a procurement officer somewhere there. Do you know when we asked him, you mean you ate money? The guy told us, no, nilikuwa naambiwa ni ya mdosi. So he would sign as a procurement officer because ni ya mdosi. Remember, there's one of the CS is not an elected leader, but there was someone who was mentioned, PS Mangiti. Where is he today? So sometimes you do things because of your boss, ni ya mdosi, and then you end up carrying the burden all along. Wewe unakuwa wewe ulikula. Then the ones who ate, they sanitize themselves in politics and we forget about them. So if the economy is thriving, many people will not even have interest in politics. People will be taking people who are patriotic, who have ideas, who are creative, politicians of the future. And actually, I dare tell Kenyans, we don't need politicians. We need leaders who can influence policies that are positive, that are looking into the future. And I'll leave Kenyans with something. All of us have children. We take our kids to school. We pay so much money in private schools because public education is not good. But we forget, if you're having a challenge of employment now, what is the future of our children? We'll spend so much money, then they'll never be employed. So even more reason why Kenyans who said the 8 million of them who didn't vote, even more reason they should make sure that their vote counts. Because with bad politics, companies will live here. So when you're saying, me, I'm an MD, I don't care, when that company closes shop in Kenya, you'll be unemployed. So being part of politics, getting involved in politics is very important for Kenyans, because if you have clueless politicians who don't understand that maziwa inunuliwe pesa mingi kwa ground but iuzwe pesa chini, you know, if people who don't understand the economics, then I'm telling you this country is headed to doom. Yes.
Well, I don't know where the country is at as of now, but we cross fingers like you said. And you said that, you know, we can only set our eyes and cross fingers and look at them and hope that then they perform. Time is moving very fast, so we're about to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, political achievements that we make. What do you think of us as women in the country and globally in terms of achievements?
So I will answer first by even acknowledging the women that have gone before us, the women that have broken the ceiling, the Julia Ojiambos, Charity Ngilu, Martha Karua, and even in the army like the Major General Fatuma Ahmed. Yeah, so among many other women I've left out. Yeah, so those are important to just acknowledge that their efforts are what is giving me as Joyce a space right now to even be in politics. Yeah, not that it is easy, but they've made it easy. I'm sure they themselves had way more challenges. And one of the achievements in today is having a female chief justice, and that is something that we need to acknowledge, that for the first time we have a female chief justice, a deputy chief justice who's also female and one other. So Supreme Court, we have 3 women, and that is a very big achievement.
That's a good 2/3 general in there, because Supreme Court has 7 people. So that's fair enough.
That is fair enough. And also it's important to look at, since the 2010 Constitution was put in place, and now like for the National Assembly, we've had I think 16 in the 11th Parliament. That's in 2013, and in 2017 we've had 23. I'm talking about elected women MPs, and right now in 2022 we have 27 elected women, and for governors it's come from 0 in 2013 to 7 right now. To 3 and then to 7. So those are very big strides. Of course, we have not gotten to the 2/3 for the governors and also for the MPs, but it's just the strides, the small strides. Like in 1963, we actually had no elected woman, none, 0 in any position. So we have all reasons to celebrate. It's clapping.
All right, we've talked so much so about politics. What is it like in the entrepreneurship world in terms of, growth? Because you people meet,
Yes.
And I mean, there's reason that gets you waking up and saying that, there's still space, there's still so much to do. There's sort of a challenge from that other end. I've seen so-and-so doing so well. I think I can get to that level and surpass that.
Well, I think within the economic and the entrepreneurship space, we've seen a lot of women actually actively take bigger roles in enterprise. Bigger roles mean we have more women in manufacturing now than we did 20 years ago. And what you realize is the space only grows bigger. Because what happens with women is, for example, I know one of my friend's moms who is in manufacturing, and she runs a full-on scale operation. And the first thing she does when she meets another woman is actually tell you, do you know that there's space in plastics? This is the cost of a machine. You can come get a workshop warehouse here. If you need funding, and these are women who actually are there. Because when you actively hold another woman's hand, you grow together. Because you'll still seek funding from within your space. I think there's also actively been a very big push towards education within the space, because business is not difficult. There's something about women that, again, I think comes naturally. Women are very enterprising. That is why you'll see the Mama Mboga actively know how much, without any formal education, know what she will get from Marikiti, come do her markup, do her math, and sustain an entire family on that. So I think this natural enterprising nature of women has actually really grown within within the space. We're seeing more women in tech. We're seeing women in fintech. I was looking the other day at the statistics of how many women have received funding within Africa above $1 million for their enterprises. And I think those 5, 6 Kenyan women on the list of 20, right? These are women who've been able to raise more than 100 million Kenya shillings, some 400 million Kenya shillings for their concepts to bring them to reality. So I think within that space, if you look at several industries, manufacturing, services, tech, we are all making such big strides, and it is to be encouraged and applauded as well.
Well, can we call us for a meeting for a moment, Justina, and remind us that it does not, you know, blow off your candle if you're going to light Joyce's, because we have a problem with that.
We do actually, and I said it's because of scarcity of opportunities. You're so territorial, I don't want people coming here. But you know, if you go somewhere, if you get to a level without doing the right thing, you're always scared the next beautiful girl will you know, outstage you. But when I look at economy and how women are doing, all of us are women here, and we have an account that we say, hii sitaguza. You know, when you purpose that this money will go to a certain thing or a certain project, we don't touch the money. But men have this idea, you'll buy girls stuff, nini, they waste their money. So actually, women who go into leadership, I feel they should be more, given our nature of protecting and using our money well, I feel they should be more in the forefront of spending public money well. If you're in leadership, if you're an MP. But the business I do, I'm into excavation and supply of building materials, and it is male dominated. But what sets me apart is because people say, when I make an order or when I call you and they say tomorrow 6 be on the ground, I'm there. So I realize I can't compete with these men at you, kuskumana customers, no. But someone will say, hey, this one, she's reliable. So the more women have put in the good practices, women are different, I believe you're going to actually outstage the men, because now men will have to catch up with us. So women need to know that support the next woman, encourage the next woman, because in as much as we loved Margaret Thatcher, we loved Churchill, we loved, you know, Jomo Kenyatta, they left, their generation left. So remember, you might be the present now, but you'll be a past for the next generation. So what legacy are you leaving for the future women of this country?
Right, true.
Yes.
That's really, really important. So here we are. Do you suppose we are coming to a space where we can comfortably say that, you know, there's a cake here that is big enough, that can be shared amongst ourselves, that we can be a little bit selfish and say, you know what, let me get this woman to this level, then let us have more energy to fight, and I do not mean a such fight, with the male gender?
The cake is enough for all of us. The cake is enough for all the women that are there. And what is important is also to just involve men in the women agenda. Because that is when we'll make even bigger strides, when they believe that we as women, we can lead. And when they feel that it's just hiyo ni mambo ya wanawake, then we will not go far. We will not go far as women. Even if the cake is enough, we won't go far. So it's important to acknowledge that the men have a space in the women agenda, and we need them, and we need to involve them in the conversation about the women agenda. And I just want us to look at the neighboring countries. I know you had said politics, but I love politics. So let me look at Tanzania. And we had Magufuli, who was president. And during COVID times, I remember I was looking at Tanzania and I was shocked. I was in shock. But when Suluhu came, I believe, and I don't know, I'm crediting it to her being a woman. I'm crediting it to her being a woman. Tanzania made very big strides during COVID, and they fought COVID really well. And something else is also just the bilateral relations between even Kenya and Tanzania. It made a shift. And even when William Ruto went to Tanzania, you could see that now they were talking about the removing of further the non-tariff trade barriers. So, and I credit all that to Suluhu and her as a woman and her leadership skills as a woman. Yes.
All right. If you noticed, my poster read the gender agenda. It wasn't really, and I don't know why there's always this assumption that when you're talking about gender, it's about women. It is not. It cuts across, and that is an acknowledgement that even the far that we are is also something that has been contributed to by the men. So in acknowledging their contribution, those ones, you know, our husbands who have walked with us, have accepted for us to get into these spaces comfortably, and you'd come back home and they have fixed meals for the kids just because they want us to grow. What would you tell them?
I want to say thank you. I'd first say thank you to my husband. I have an extremely supportive husband who is my first investor. We all understand how difficult funding can become, especially for business.
Chief investor.
I call him chief investor for all my enterprises because I'll run an idea past him first. But I have been granted the good fortune of only having men around me. So I have two sons.
Boys,
I have my husband, I have my father, and the words of the men who surround women are very critical because the first thing my father will tell me is, I bless you. I bless the work you do and I believe in you. And that goes a long way in terms of even boosting my confidence as a woman. My little son who's 3 tells me, Mommy, you're a princess. You're a princess, Mom. And I leave the house feeling
like a princess.
Like a princess. But the role that men play, especially around the conversation of gender, is very critical because when you have a confident man who is not intimidated by the success of their woman, the chances are that woman will succeed. If you have confident men around you, even in the workplace, men who do not feel threatened by the authority of a woman, the higher the chances are that business will succeed, that corporate will succeed. For male bosses in spaces who understand the dynamics of being a woman, male bosses who understand women go through menopause. Will you offer sensitization to the office? Women have bad days, good days, and that's all dependent on our mood. People who we are allowing of each other, right? That's what I feel the gender agenda should be, that we are allowing of these things. When Gloria walked into Senate, I don't think that's the first time that the men knew that women have periods. But most of them were shocked.
Right.
But those small things where we allow one another the space without feeling threatened, right, are what will lead to the success, not only economically, but socially, because women will be allowed to get into spaces where they previously were not allowed, politically, because then when men in politics realize, and it's an interesting thing, because in the last election, many men were like, we need a woman on the table. Actively need a woman on the table. So in the political space, when men realize that women bring in something that they cannot bring, they bring in femininity, they bring in a softness, they bring in an element of nurturing. When we realize that only together can we make strides forward, then you will realize that within all those 4 pillars, because the gender agenda is along 4 pillars. There's economics, there's socially, there's culturally, there's politically. Within those 4 pillars, if we can both just embrace one another, then you will realize that the steps we'll make will be significantly higher. And we've done that, so I'm hopeful about the future.
Indeed, crossing fingers for the best. Justina, my childhood days, and that was primary school, and the excitement, perhaps that's why I learned in media about poems and, you know, all these activities that play out, that extracurricular activities, you know, got me to a space where for the very first time our school then sends us to an event where women are celebrated on International Women's Day. And we have this poem that speaks of a world without women. And, you know, we paint a picture of what a world without women would be like. It's an ugly picture. Coming to think about it today, it's literally
colorless.
It's colorless. It's something you do not want to imagine. But again, we also do not want to imagine a world without men. What do you tell them?
First and foremost, mine is to thank my husband for the support. We met in politics. At a time, sorry to say, my parents were not supporting my political vision. And I understand my parents because they were there during Moi's time and they would see what
this is your girl, you want to protect her.
Yes, so they were feeling like politics is a dangerous ground for me, and my husband has really carried my vision. But something I'll tell women is that many men want to invest in women, but then they meet their friends who tell them, when you empower your woman, she will do this, she will do this.
Run away.
So for you, who your husband has empowered, kindly make sure you are in the right path, so that even you'll have a reference when he tells you, I won't support you because of that one. You will have 3 more good examples to tell your husband, you know. But my message also goes to women. Women, we need to borrow a leaf from men. Do you know, Angie and Joyce, you would have more money than a man, but the confidence that man has, you think he has so much money.
I agree. And actually, everybody else will assume that it is him that has given you the money.
So whether you have money or not, kuwa na ile confidence like a man. Another thing, there are things that men say, things that bring down women is our issues. Let's stop being petty as women. Be mature, overlook your sister. Like I always say, and it is something that is deliberate. It is a deliberate decision. However much a woman attacks me on social media, I will not respond, because I do not want to fuel the conversation that women are their own worst enemies. So if you feel attacking me is the best, continue doing it, but I won't respond to you, because I don't want Andrew Kibe saying, I told you, women are not
It can be something, you know, can really make you feel like, now what is this?
So it is our role to change the narrative. The men won't change our narrative, only the women will change the narrative to influence them into seeing that, you know what, there's benefit of having women on the table. Yes.
All right, let's take a quick short break and then come back on the last laps and speak about Kapuletu and speak about what it is that we do in our own special spaces, celebrate, and, you know, ask for that support if there's need, right? After this break.
The home of untold stories. Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Are you looking for a college that will shape your future career? At Candy College of Beauty and Applied Sciences, we offer advanced courses with personalized attention to our students. Come and get your diploma or certificate in cosmetology, hairdressing and beauty therapy, diploma in community development and social work, or certification in catering and accommodation operation. We also offer diploma in nutrition and dietetics and many more. All of our graduates have secured employment in the job market, while others have gone into entrepreneurship. What are you waiting for? Join us today. For more information on how you can enroll, visit us at the London Beauty Building, 5th floor, Taveta Road, Nairobi, or call us on 0726 031 109 or 0784 515 606. Facebook, Candy College of Beauty and Applied Sciences, or on Instagram, Candy College of Sciences. Our January intake is ongoing. Candy College of Beauty and Applied Sciences is the cutting edge college.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Shhh. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
The home of untold stories.
And right next to me, Joyce, Justina, and Angie. We are coming to the close of this. Angie, what do you do? Kapulangu.
Yes.
Yes.
So I run Kapulangu. We create and curate African home decor.
Wow.
We work directly with artisans, weavers, beaders, carvers from across 18 African countries.
Wow.
And we retail that here. And we also do a lot of export as well. So we export to the European, American market.
Good.
And I also run the Lionesses Pride. And this is just a network of women in business who empower one another, speak to one another, curate little events, very intimate events where you get to meet another woman face to face, discuss business, discuss life, and just pat one another on the back and tell each other, tuendele. Yes.
Success stories out of that?
Very many.
Yeah.
So for Kapulangu, we now have distributorship at least within the country. We retail through art cafe markets as well, and we'll soon be on a couple of online pages. My biggest success story with Kapulangu is actually one of our weavers and beaders. She's called Grace. And when we met Grace, Grace did not know how to do her math around beading. But that has been the core for us, because one of our pillars is economic empowerment for women. And now if you meet Grace 4 or 5 years down the line, she can completely do for you a full-on worksheet, tell you the cost of the beading, tell you the cost of what the product should look like. And for us, and for me personally, that's why I'm in business, to ensure that we have more success stories like that, not only for women, but men as well. Yes.
You know, what I say sometimes beyond the money is that when you are hired somewhere or you are working with somebody and it goes beyond the 5 years mark, it means that the two of you are comfortable, or one person is comfortable to be whatever it is that they are, because today we don't have the patience to take it to the next year and the other year if really things are not working well. I mean, there's clearly a future underneath that, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I'm surprised that you said you still are waiting to have your social media pages, or what did I hear?
No. We have distribution. We have social media. Our social media is Kapulangu.
Okay, it's Kapulangu across, so they check that out.
Kapulangu across all platforms. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So more about your business.
It's a good thing you're asking me this question, because when I didn't get the CAS position and the PS I was not shortlisted, hey, Kenyans were laughing at me. It's good they'll understand that I went into politics for, you know, for serving the country. But at least God has been gracious. I have my daily bread from excavation and supply of building materials. If you see those heavy commercial machines, you know, a wheel load, an excavator, a grader, we own them. And I thank God, because when the economy was doing well, we would be easily take a loan from the bank and buy our machinery. And something that I realized, when you go on the ground to, you know, excavate, if you want to build a home or a house or a commercial building, you have to remove the cotton soil or the red soil for the foundation. And when I go on the ground and people say, hii machine ni ya county gani? You know, and you realize Kenyans bado hawajaelewa hizi vitu, you know. So you start explaining, no, we into business, we are private owned. And then when government is doing well, you'd see your machines are hired. So the downside of it right now is that the economy is doing badly. So a Kenyan right now is weighing the condition. Should I buy food or build a home? So the economy is very slow. Of course, fuel is a challenge for us. Of course, Kenyans are saying the Chinese are on the ground working, but us in private sector, we are not feeling the impact of employment. So mine is just to encourage government that it's not necessarily for us to work in government, but just make sure the economy grows in a way that Kenyans have purchasing power to build homes, to buy materials, and we'll continue building kusukuma gurudumu la maisha in Kenya. So that's what I do generally. And what is the success story is that when you pass somewhere today, you see an empty field, and then tomorrow you find a building has been put up, you know. That is positive. That for me, I feel there's positive impact, because I always say, and I tell even my boys who I work with, guys, do you know we are the first stroke of paint in this vision and this project? We are the first stroke of paint in this picture. So do it so well, so that even if this guy will come to build another house in 10 years, they'll remember you guys were in business and they call you. So that's how we always, you know, spread the positive energy, and we are doing well. Yes.
Right, Joyce, the outstanding you before and even after this phase of politics.
So for me, I'm a consultant on on matters governance and human rights. And I run a company. It's called Eightfold Capacity Limited, where we do capacity building trainings, and it's a family company together with my husband, who really has been my anchor throughout this whole process. And we do capacity building training on security courses, on governance courses, And above all that, I started a foundation because the Cheruto Chebichi or Joyce Cheruto Foundation, because when I was campaigning, I remember a certain young girl saying that she actually had to sleep with a boda boda person just to buy a pad. And that really pained me. And the foundation is basically to go back to the village in Trans Nzoia and help those girls so that they don't have to, you know, sleep with anyone just to be able to have a pad.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, aren't you guys going to celebrate us, the media, in as much as Aaron Cheriot anasema no. See, we are doing a good job.
You are actually, and keep it up. Do you know the media is the other mirror of the society. You know why maybe he's saying that is because probably he feels that you call other people and others are not called.
Cheriot kumtambumpate kwa simu akuje onea. Now let me talk in Swahili so that it makes more sense. Umempigia atachagua sijui station gani, hata atakuja na mood. Sasa asiseme kitu. And I mean if there's a person who's on screen every other time is Aaron Cheriot, really.
Yes.
And so I would perhaps expect him to be the last person as well to criticize the media, but he has his own grounds which we cannot.
It's politics of visibility versus economic viability, and that is something also Kenyans need to change. Wacha kusema ati nani yako ground sana. Hiyo politic visibility not necessarily is the right person. Kwa hivyo mwanze kuangalia people with economic viability. Yes,
that's true. Ladies, I must say asante sana. It was short, precise, but it was sweet. And let's keep doing what it is that we do best, yeah? We have a country to protect. We are the mothers of this country. We cannot imagine a world without women. Thank you so much, Angela. On my father's, this is in mkono gani left. Yeah, on my father's left, Angela Odeje, entrepreneur, and of course the brain behind Kapulangu, doing so well. And of course, keep doing it. And we also have Justina Wamae. I don't like saying at CG Kenya's 2022 presidential. It'll go presidential, deputy presidential. It's quite a mouthful, you know.
Why I said that, if we write that party tunaweza shikwa. I was banned to use that name. Kwa hivyo I'm trying to protect you.
Mwana biashara na mwana siasa at the same time, yeah? Joyce Ketera right here as well, governance and political expert. Asanteni sana, ladies. We close this conversation shortly. We get into another. Please do not turn that dial. Thank you.